All right, part of the challenge that I'm having is that I'm not hearing from the persons who have survived the
Mm-hmm.
virus, right? The persons who were tested positive and then they recovered. I don't think that we are hearing enough from them, and I think that they have a wealth of information that we could use because, in my humble opinion, I'm not in the medical field at all, but from what I understand about viruses is that we're going to be living with COVID for a minute. So I just want to know, what did they do to feel better? What were their symptoms? Because from what I understand, it goes from very mild to really, really extreme. And I'm just trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out where did the majority fall in place? Was it more mild for the persons who survived, or did somebody go to the brink of death and came back? Or, what do I do if I get up with a high fever and I feel like I have COVID? What's the first thing I do? You know what I mean? So I
Okay.
want to know. I don't know if maybe you can't disclose it, or maybe you don't know, but I'm just curious to find out if there is some sort of plan to start educating the public about what to do if they in fact get infected, outside of just saying call the hotline, because enough people are afraid to even call the hotline. And so what you have is that somebody have it and they don't say anything, and then while they're keeping it to themselves, they're spreading it. So I'm
Okay.
just trying to understand, what do we do if we get infected?
All right, so those are very good questions. First, we are having, unfortunately, a lot of stigma and discrimination against COVID-19. So persons are afraid to come out and say that they have it. Persons are afraid to admit that they might be having symptoms. That is very unfortunate, because it causes more harm than it does good. No, I'm
Yes.
going to put a nice plug here for persons who have survived COVID. I really wish they would speak out, because it can really help with educating the masses and
Yes.
making it a much, and removing the stigma and discrimination against it. UE, the University Hospital of the West Indies, as well, is having is encouraging persons who have recovered from the virus as well to donate their plasma, which is a part of the blood, which can
Right.
help other persons who have COVID-19 with their management. You can check my page at the Layman's DR, and I'm supposed to have a post on that to see how you can contact them, and it should also be on
Okay.
their page as well. In terms of what should persons do, I'm really sad to say that persons are afraid to call the hotline. I know sometimes I also hear persons aren't able to get through. From personal experience and to speaking with patients, I've had patients come in and say, oh, the person on the hotline said I should come here for testing, or they will contact us and say we're sending over these persons for testing. So just know that there is sometimes, I think it's just they're overburdened. A lot of persons might be calling. So it's just to keep trying. I know that they do call back, and you shouldn't be afraid to call them. They're supposed to be trained to give you advice. In general, what it is, it's more for if you're having mild symptoms, just as a small cough, some fever. And fever is I suggest everybody gets a thermometer so that they know what a fever is, which is 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius. But if you're having symptoms where it's not so bad, just some sniffles, some cough, and maybe a fever, that's 100.4, I would suggest you call the hotline and see. They will direct you to where to be tested, which is usually at hospitals and various health centers, especially the type 4s and type 5s. So the health centers that always have a doctor and are more equipped to handle patients. But then if it is that you're having a fever that's 103, it's so hot, you're having chills, you might be having some changes where you have your family is noticing that you're having changes in how you behave, you're so short of breath that you cannot breathe at all. It's
Right.
always best that you just come to the hospital. And what we do encourage persons is, if you are coming to the hospital or being brought to the hospital, call the hospital ahead of time and say, hi, I'm bringing my relative. They're having really bad shortness of breath. Their fever is really high. I'm already on my way to the hospital. My name is so-and-so. Their name is so-and-so. Just so that they're aware that you're coming and can put
Right.
measures in place. I know what some persons do as well if they can't get through to the hotline, or if they're unsure, they might also reach out to their hospital or to their health center and say, hey, I'm having these problems. What should I do? And I think this is just from here. I think that most persons will be able to answer questions and will be able to tell you what's happening and what to do. But those are kind of the things that you should do. Of course, just have to signpost that if you're having symptoms, just don't sit down with them. Reach out to somebody. And if you feel like you're on the brink, the fever, you can't control it, it's really high, you cannot breathe, you're coughing, and you just feel unwell, severely unwell, it's not something to sit down with, it's not something to watch. You need to seek medical attention as soon as possible. And of course, come with your mask on.